Welcome to the Right Advice with Randy and Amber. I'm Randy.
And I'm Amber, and today we're going to be reviewing episode 4 of the Willow series on Disney+. Let's start with our first impression. Randy, what was yours?
I liked it. I was very happy at the end of episode 3. If I wasn't reviewing for the show, I would have stopped watching. But with this episode, I'm actually excited to see what they do next.
So I'm of the same mentality that if we weren't doing this review series, I definitely would have not continued watching, especially after episode 3. This episode was more interesting than episode 3, but I didn't feel like I care enough about the characters to care about the events that are happening. So there's that. Let's move on to one thing that the show did well.
All right, and spoiler alert, we are going to talk about specifics that happened in the show. So for me, this episode has a theme. So the title has to do with whispers of the castle, and the whole episode deals with that. And so we get a lot of backstory. We get everything that's being done is in that backdrop of it being a spooky castle that whispers to the minds of the characters inside. And so for me, it works really well. It has great atmosphere to the whole episode. It connects everything logically together, and we're able to see background story being introduced in a way that's appropriate. And by appropriate, I mean we're entertained by it, and it feels natural. And because
It feels like it's events that the characters in the present would want to see. Things that they are seeing are things that are interesting to them at the moment. It's not just there for the audience.
Right, as opposed to someone just blabbing background, and that feels like what we in the industry call an info dump.
For me, I think I liked the same thing. I liked the ghosts. I liked the effect. It was interesting to be in Bavmorda's tower again. I love that finale in the original, and I noticed that the skylight right above the altar with the little metal grate halfway fallen in is exactly as it is in the movie. So I was pleased to see that there was attention to detail from the movie in that area. Maybe lacking in others, but at least they did the skylight right.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to one thing that they did not do so well.
Oh, and this really, really bothers me. So there needs to be continuity throughout the show. So, for instance, in one scene, we have
Bavmorda.
At the very beginning, we were told that men corrupted Bavmorda, and that's why she's evil, because they corrupted her. But at the end of the episode, we're told that she is of the blood of the six, and that she's corrupted by the blood of the six. Well, which one is it? Did bad men corrupt her, or is this just what we would naturally expect, that through the bloodline she's tainted, right? So they change that all the time. What was the other one? I think Willow.
You've got Willow's potion.
Oh yeah, please, we have to have all the ingredients before we move forward. And yet Willow, the very next scene, he's like, nope, we're starting. We don't have everything, but we're going to start anyways. So they really need to have someone hire on as a continuity person that makes sure that whatever they said earlier in the show is the same thing that they say later in the show. So that really bothers me.
Yeah, and I think something like that could have easily have been fixed with Willow saying to one of the characters, go and try and find that ingredient. And, in case you do, we're going to prepare everything else. That's all it would have taken to excuse his actions. Another one that we talked about before was I wanted to mention this one, is how Willow has been, up until now, trying to encourage Elora Danan to have faith in herself and believe in herself and just know that she can do it. And then in the finale in the tower, she's about to go forth and try to help Graydon, who is turning evil, or who has turned evil. And Willow says, stop, don't you dare do it. You want her to stop doing the things that you've been trying to encourage her to do this whole time? It made no sense.
Okay, but I am going to disagree with Amber on this. So for me, I actually kind of liked that discrepancy, because I feel that it really is hammering a point that's important to the storyline. And so what we originally liked about Elora Danan in the movie is that she seems to have a natural instinct. She has a good intuition about things, right? And that's a natural, and it seems to stem her great power. That's part of that goes along with her great power. All right, and so in this, it seems to be really pointing out that Willow, he follows these rules. He's really a stickler for the rules. You got to do this. You can't do this. You got to do it in this order. He's always telling her, say these words exactly this way, which in magic, that's normally the case, right? But he is very much by the book, right? But that's not Elora Danan. She's got her instincts. So I feel that is really important. What it's doing is reinforcing that that's Elora Danan's special power, is that she has those great instincts, and she's going to be able to just go forward, not following his path, but following her own path. So I think it's good in that instance.
Okay. And for me, I think it's out of Willow's character from the movie. So, I mean, it's hard to judge because he's not the same Willow from the films or who he should have been immediately coming out of the film. But I guess he is now this new character who is a stickler for the rules, like you've pointed out. So it's sticking somewhat to the rules of the show, but not really to the rules of the movie. It's very confusing to me. So one thing that I think that they did not do well, and this is a very general note, it is that they have a lot of useless characters that have no apparent purpose at all, except to create some false drama along the way to the real drama, which is save Eric, right?
Okay, and so AKA red shirts.
Yes.
So they're really using red shirts.
So the first example I'm going to bring up is that guard who originally went with them on this journey, and he got shot with the arrow on like the first day out.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an interesting guy. I figured he's going to be the guy who knows the road. He's been around, and he's going to bring in these teenagers and keep them on the straight and narrow. But he's dead right away.
Yeah, if he'd worn a red shirt, we would have known better, and we just would have expected him to die.
And nobody cared that he died. Nobody. So didn't they grow up with him in the castle? Anyway. And then, so Jade's character, even though I actually liked her in this episode, I don't see the point of her being on this journey except as being the love interest of the main character, and their drama feels really disjointed from the main drama again, which is go and find Eric, the brother. There's not really much focus here. I'm
going to disagree again. I think she represents the queen's will. So we're not going to have the queen. We're not going to have Saoirse in all of those scenes. So with her there, she can go like, no, I represent the queen and we have to do this. And I feel that that's a reasonable reason to have her as part of the party, as part of the fellowship.
I guess I would want to see her engage in that role more actively, because what did she do in this episode except say, oh no, I'm going to have to kill Graydon, but then she didn't. So anyway, the two lumberjack ladies were another example. Silas, who was Willow's friend, I didn't care when he died because there was so little interaction between Willow and Silas that was meaningful, so that when he died I went, was he just there to occasionally exchange a couple lines with Willow and that was it? He apparently knew how to change a tire or change the wheel out.
Change the wheel.
That was it. That was it. If his purpose was to die and be gut-wrenching, they didn't do it. They missed the mark. They would have had to have built up their relationship. Like maybe this is the new Migosh. He should be demonstrated as being loyal, and the two of them are buddies and they're always laughing together. That would have been more gut-wrenching. But instead, he was just a guy who occasionally exchanged words with Willow and then died.
I don't know if he was just a guy. He was a feisty Elowen.
Yeah, I liked him.
Interesting.
But they didn't do anything with him. Anyway.
Again, he should have wore a red shirt and we would have known not to expect much.
And the last useless character that I thought of was Ballantine. I thought he was going to be this great point of tension for Jade, which would have given some extra element of drama to the journey. They're being pursued by the person who she sees as her father. However, we never really saw them interact as a father and daughter. There was one line, and it could very easily have just been, this is your boss. So you're told, oh, he was like a father to me after he has turned bad. So there's no emotional draw. And then when she kills him, I said, what? So he's out now. He's out in episode 3. So he was only the baddie for 3 episodes. Now the baddies that are following them are just this shadowy, dark, the Gales, you know.
The Gales.
That's it. I mean, there's no conflict in who's chasing them.
They could have drawn that out.
Yeah,
I
they
would have
could
kept him
have.
in for, I mean, so if I was writing it, I would have kept them in
Yeah.
and had drawn that out for a long time. I would have played on that resistance
Yeah.
by, I'm sorry, what is her name?
Jade.
Jade.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had Jade so conflicted because this is her father figure, and yet she's got to kill him. I mean, so I would have planted that. You're going to have to kill him eventually, right?
Yeah.
And I would have played on that for a few episodes before that really came out. And then I would have gotten rid of the guard
Yeah.
at a much better time. I don't know that this is the best time to get rid of him.
Yeah, and sort of playing into my my theme here, which is that there's a lot of useless characters, is that they're missing a sage. There is no sage in this story. There's no wise guy. There's no Gandalf. There's no. I expected Willow to be the sage, but you pointed out what his real role apparently is, which is
He's the teller of background. So it's like, oh, we need some background. Willow, come on.
tell us what happened.
Just tell us what happened before.
Yeah,
and
or
then, you know.
where we're going. Explain
Where
to the
we're
dangers
going.
of what's over there. And it's disappointing to me because he's supposed to be wiser. He should be. It's been, well, in I guess the movie, it's been 16 or 17 years or something like that. But he still should have matured a lot. He was a parent before he went on his journey. And,
Yeah.
you know, everybody does a lot more maturing once they become a parent because suddenly you're responsible for somebody else. So you would expect that he would be somebody with real wisdom. Instead, he doesn't seem to know what he's doing either.
So without that role of the teller of backgrounds, backstory, he would fall into the category of kind of a useless
Yeah,
character.
he would, definitely.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's sad. All right, let's move on to favorite scene.
All right, so my favorite scene is at the end of the episode, and what we have is a mirroring of the battle at the end of the movie, right? So we're at the high
Yeah.
tower, and we have all the forces going through, so we get a lot of nodbacks to the first movie. We have a lot of clips from the first movie, so we see the parallels between what they're doing now and what was done then. I thought that was beautifully done. And it gave more sense of purpose for the characters and motivation, and just all of it, to me, that was really good storytelling. So I love that scene.
I really liked that scene too. I have no complaints about it except that, at least the concept of it, except that when the statue came alive to grab Willow, nobody went to help him. He's being strangled, and there's at least 3 able-bodied persons in the room with him and only one of them's holding down Graydon. Why didn't somebody go and help Willow?
Because they thought he was a red shirt. So, spend your time, wasted on saving red shirts. So,
You know what? They didn't show any care when the first gray-haired guy died, so I guess they don't care if Willow dies too. My goodness.
or they don't like old people.
You know, they didn't really seem to care that Graydon was dying either. They just sort of like, oh no, we gotta, fix him up. The only person, and this is my favorite scene, was the scene with Jade and Borman on the parapet.
That was a lovely scene.
She came out and she said, I'm gonna have to be the one to kill him. And, all my life I wanted to be a knight, and I've been a knight now for a while, and so far I hate it. And she was in distress about this, that she was so disappointed and also conflicted about killing their friend. And Borman, gave her some comfort, and I think he told her something along the lines of, you've got to have a goal in life and you just have to go for it, because if you don't, you'll be more lost without a goal.
It's great character development for Jade. So
Yeah, I liked her, even
if
though...
we had more of that,
Yeah.
she would be less of a not useful character. So.
Well, I don't know if it fixes the usefulness. I mean, she would need to be more integrated into why are they going. I would want to see her protecting the princess more. Like, let's really amplify that Kit cannot protect herself. She really was stupid in thinking that she could sword fight because she really can't. And that would be interesting. Then yes, I would. You know what? I would have really liked that, and it kind of would have been funny. Yeah. Situational comedy, that would have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked that scene with the two of them talking on the parapet. The emotion that was there was good. I like how Borman, he seems to be the sage now, I guess. I don't know. They're all kind of playing that role in snippets, but then the rest of the time they're a bunch of dumb teenagers. So I don't know. Let's move on to I can't read what it says. Okay. Let's move on to what you think will happen next.
Okay, so that is pretty obvious on one hand. So we have a lovely cliffhanger, and I'm a master of writing cliffhangers, and I love it when those are done well on shows and in books. And so we have the Gales. We see the heroes moving forward, and then we have a shot of the Gales waiting for them. So we know that there's going to be a fight. And that fight in episode 1 with the Gales was so far one of the, probably the only fight, battle, conflict that I really enjoyed. That one I felt was done the best and was the most interesting and had the potential to be interesting again. So we see that they're going to run into him very shortly. And then,
well, they're under orders also to kill everybody else, just get the girl.
Yes. So
but then which girl?
Yeah, so there's some foreboding there, right? Some foretelling, right? And then they go to another cliffhanger, which is Prince Eric, right? He's alive and he's let out of his jail cell, and he's in the city.
Immemorial City, yeah.
The Immemorial City, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it'd be more interesting for me to try to guess, to tell you what I think is going to happen there. I think he's going to go out there and he's going to explore, and I believe Mad Mardigan is there, and I believe that Eric is going to run into his dad, and that's going to be an interesting situation. So that's my gut instinct. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do, and I'd bring Mad Mardigan back, hopefully season 2, when the actor is feeling better, and hopefully we'll be able to perform. I mean, I would really love to see him return as Mad Mardigan. So that's my guess of what's going forward.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my guess too. Is that Eric? Not so much about the Gales, but I figure I know what's going on with the Gales. They're the new Ballantine. They're going to be the ones chasing him now. But with Eric, I think it would be really cool to see him encounter his father. But it's not going to happen because we know that Val Kilmer does not appear in this season.
This season.
Yeah, so, but there's also no guarantee that he'll appear in the next one, so. Anyway, all right, so we've covered just about everything we wanted to talk about. How would you rate this episode? I'm
going to give it an 8 out of 10. So this is, in my mind, by far the best episode of the 4 that have come out. And I would totally watch, I want to watch the next one, so I think it was entertaining.
For me, I'll give it a higher grade than last time. I was giving it I think it was like a 3 out of 10 for the last one, something ridiculously low like that. I'll go ahead and give it a 4 or 5 out of 10. It's still not doing it for me. You gotta give it a 5 because you gave the first episode a 4. Yeah, that's true. Okay, I guess I have to give it a 5. But the thing is I still don't care about what's happening. I don't care about anything that is. Honestly, I'm in it to see if Val Kilmer appears, which we know he won't. I'm in it to see if we get any more interesting things from the movie again, because I just don't enjoy these characters. Graydon has become slightly more interesting now that we know he killed his brother, which I predicted, by the way. And I don't know. I don't like any of the characters. Maybe it's because they're so flip-floppy and they don't seem to have a main focus or a main motivation, any of them. Elora is like, I want to, go save Eric. She keeps saying that, but then she's getting distracted with everything else. And she, I have confidence and then I don't. So that's my take. Okay. I think that about covers it. Yep. So until next time. See ya. Later.